Hello, everyone. Connie from Merry Industries here, bringing you more Reddit stories. If you enjoy our videos, remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. Now, let's dive right in. Today's topic is relationship advice. This post comes from a throwaway account and is titled, "I know my son isn't mine, but my wife doesn't believe I do. How should I approach this conversation with her?" All. Throwaway account here. I'll keep this brief. I've been married to my wife for 3 years, and we've been together for 5. Our son just turned 2 in early June. To be blunt, he looks biracial. His skin is darker than I expected. He has curly hair, and his features don't match ours. He's a beautiful boy, but he doesn't look like us at all. A few days after his birthday, I asked my wife if she thought our son looked white. She said yes and asked if I was accusing her of something. I assured her I wasn't accusing her, I was just curious about genetics. We ended up arguing, and I apologized, but I couldn't shake my doubts, so I took a DNA test secretly. The results showed I'm not his biological father. I'm torn. I love my son, but the knowledge that he isn't mine leaves me with a bitter feeling. He seems to prefer me, and he means the world to me, but the biological fact remains. I'm struggling with how to address this with my wife. I feel a mix of anger, confusion, and betrayal along with heartbreak. I still love her deeply, but I don't want to interrupt her work at the moment. I can't recall when she might have been unfaithful. We always share our locations for safety, and I don't remember any suspicious friends or moments. We go on regular dates and our intimate life is active. We were trying for a baby during that time, so I can't pinpoint when or why she might have cheated. She's always been overjoyed since our marriage, constantly flaunting her ring and talking about me, almost like a lovesick teenager. How do I bring this up with her or start the conversation? I'm unsure of what to do next, as strange as that sounds. I've been dwelling on this for a few days and still love her dearly. Any advice would be appreciated. Eat it. I'm becoming overwhelmed with the comments. I'm sorry, I wanted to reply to a few, but I can't. I just wanted to say thank you for commenting, and that I also hope our baby was just swapped. As terrible as that sounds, our baby didn't look biracial at birth. As he got older, he started developing features that didn't look entirely like ours. If our son's skin hadn't darkened over to him, I don't think I ever would have questioned anything. The other features can be explained as a fun little surprise or a few generation hops. Maybe I know that genetics can be weird. Yeah, but he got the test done, and it's not his kid. God, I wouldn't have a clue how you'd approach this. Let's go to the comments. You place the results of the test in front of her and say, "We need to have a conversation," and go from there. Edit to add, you could express your concerns about the baby being switched at birth and request your wife to obtain a test to ensure that the hospital didn't give you the wrong baby. This is where you need to be strategic, not emotional. I'd get a second test just to be sure, and I might even have the kid tested against her DNA, if you can obtain it, as it would rule out a hospital mix-up. It's super rare, but it does happen. Then talk with a lawyer and probably pull half of any shared accounts before confronting her. Edit, yes, check with the lawyer before yanking money. The reality is that either person on a joint account can empty it. If you are reliant on a partner who has been proven scientifically untrustworthy, take steps to protect yourself. You mentioned that you were trying. Did you do any IVF? I just watched a documentary where a fertility doctor switched his sperm with that of any male patient. Also, there could have been a mix-up there. Someone also mentioned a switch at the hospital. Give her the results and ask her to start explaining. Most importantly, talk to a lawyer and immediately start separating any and all financial accounts. As for the whole location thing, yeah, someone can leave their phone in one place while they physically go to another place and then come back to pick up the phone, so you can't rely on that. If you have will and determination, you can figure out anything. Yeah, all interesting theories and sound advice. Let's go to an update 16 days later. I don't know if anyone will see this, as the subreddit I posted to doesn't allow updates after 48 hours. But hello if you do. Getting the bad news out of the way first, my son isn't mine. I feel devastated and will be divorcing my wife. My wife and I had talked about our son a few days after my post, and my wife cracked under the pressure. She admitted to cheating on me without me even mentioning the test I'd gotten done. All I asked was if she really thought our son looked white. I mean it when I say that if his skin never got darker, I wouldn't have known. She cried a lot, begged for forgiveness, and told me that we could all still be a happy family, but my image of her shattered right then and there. I'm going through heartbreak, so forgive any mistakes. I'm currently living with my parents. I asked her when she even found the time to cheat on me, and she told me that she would leave. Her phone was in a location, and she used another. She told me that cheating was a mistake and an accident, but how was it a mistake if you had it so planned out? We were trying for a baby around that time, and she said that she couldn't handle the pressure of it all and just wanted to escape. She didn't escape very well if she still got pregnant and acted like we were perfect. Thank you again to everyone. My wife will now be known as my ex-wife. I apologize to anyone who had hope and thought it was a baby switched at birth situation. I'm somewhat happy it wasn't, because that would be terrible, but I'm extremely disappointed because that means he really isn't mine. There won't be any more DNA tests because she admitted to everything and showed me some text messages. There won't be any more updates from me either because I just want to move on with my life. I'll get everything sorted and figure out the whole custody thing. Thanks again, everyone. Goodbye. Another day on Reddit, another broken home thanks to someone's cheating. Safe to say it wasn't an accident. This was calculated. I don't know how she ever thought he wouldn't notice eventually. I mean, having a kid with someone who's not white and your husband being white might raise a few eyebrows. Anyway, what do you guys think about that? Let me know down below. Let's move on to another story. Okay, jumping over to True Off My Chest. This one was written by user Svev Fan and is titled Best Friends and Wife Dropped the Ball. Pretext: I completely understand there are much greater tragedies out there than what I'm about to describe. I need to write this out and appreciate any feedback or strategies. Myself, my wife, and friends from college, including my best friend and his wife, have been doing a college football pick'em league for the last 12 years. It's for fun, but I'd say most everyone takes it somewhat seriously. Since we've had the league, different people have won, but for 6 years in a row, one particular guy kept winning. Each year we have a big tailgate party at a game where the winner of the previous year is honored with a speech and trophy. Last year we even arranged for a surprise cameo to be played at the tailgate for the guy who won his 6th in a row. I broke his streak last year and won the league, but I was also the person who typically got the trophy and arranged the cameo or some of the other cool things we've done. So yesterday was our big tailgate, and it was my chance to be recognized as the person who won the previous year. A few hours in, my wife had a few drinks and said, "I don't even know what we're doing this year for the person who won 6 years in a row." I said that actually I had won, and her whole face changed. Our friend standing next to her turned white as a ghost first. They laughed and then said, "No, wait, it was you." I realized that until that moment, it hadn't occurred to them or anyone to do anything. There was no trophy, no speech, or anything. My best friend was quickly told by my wife that they had forgotten to do something, and he said nothing. He couldn't make eye contact. It got worse for me once it sank in. I was in the bathroom an hour later. When I walked out, some people started clapping because my wife had awkwardly arranged for the crowd at the party to do something. It was worse because the guy who had won 6 years in a row and had received some cool stuff was laughing hysterically that everyone had forgotten to do anything. I'm just sad. I don't really want to talk to my wife. She gave me a very short apology this morning and offered sex to cheer me up, which only made it worse. I drove 6 hours home, crying here and there, wondering how a group of people I love and care about could drop the ball. I sent a text out to some, saying how crappy it was to be forgotten. It sucks. I'm sure tomorrow I'll be less sad. Yeah. I mean, regardless, that's a really crappy thing to go through. The fact that that guy was laughing during the whole thing, man, that would feel bad. Let's go to the comments. You're the planner. You're the one that keeps people together and makes sure no one or nothing is forgotten. So when you don't do all the work, no one else does. It's really crappy they forgot to celebrate your win. You deserve a cheer and they let you down. Really sorry, OP, congrats. They did drop the ball and then handled it really inappropriately. Sincere apologies were needed ASAP, and they should make it up to you. I'd truly join another league just to take your mind off it and detach a little from that scene. Even if they don't do celebrations and you're the planner of the group, that still isn't cool. I hate football, but this got me worked up. Another comment says, everyone likes to accept rewards and praise, but not everyone likes to return the favor. OP went out of their way to make sure whoever won had a good time and felt special for 6 years and got nothing in return when it was their time to shine. To top it off, his wife is trying to downplay it and act like he's overreacting. It feels bad. The least they could do is apologize especially. The prick who laughed after OP is the one who made his win special in the first place. Next time your wife is upset, Offer her sex to cheer her up. This isn't stupid at all. You're validated in feeling how you do, and it's crappy as hell that your friends and wife didn't recognize how important this was to you. I totally get it. It isn't about fantasy football, it's the pretense of the entire situation. Honestly, if it were me, I would tell my friends via phone call or face-to-face, not text, and explain how it made you feel unappreciated as a member of the friend group. Also, let them know how their reaction after realizing you were the winner hurt you. Not because it was over a game of fantasy football, but because this is clearly something you all put effort and emphasis into for multiple years, and there's no excuse for just brushing you off. I would also tell your wife how it made you feel. Offering sex isn't something to be used as a reward or withheld, and that set off some alarm bells for me. Personally, you deserve to be surrounded by people who appreciate you the same way you do for them. This isn't something to accept, it's important that you say something. I know it's uncomfortable, but it's worth it. Sending you love. Opie replies, thank you so much. I really teared up that anyone felt sympathetic. I'm in my house and feel like I'm on an island by myself now. Opie gives a quick update the next day. Update, it's the next day after a night where I slept in the guest bedroom. Late last night, I got an email apology from the girl who turned white when she found out. My wife woke up at 6 to get ready for work, and I was up helping the kids get ready for school. She wanted to talk and asked if I could also talk. I was half awake and didn't have any thoughts put together. The first thing she said was that I need to keep perspective. She mentioned that it's not as if she cheated on me, she just forgot something big, but there are much worse things that could have happened. I didn't respond. She asked how long she was going to be punished for this, and I just said that it wasn't all about her. She is visibly frustrated, and I'm too afraid to say something that might ignite her. I feel like she's desperate for me to say anything. I realize she's not comforting me or trying to understand. She wants full resolution before we have to take the kids' trick or treating tonight. That's it for now. She texted good morning, and I haven't responded. One comment says, when the planner doesn't plan, crap doesn't get done. I'm sorry that your lame-ass friends didn't treat you well by remembering to celebrate your win. I'm even more sorry that none of them had the guts to come clean and apologize in front of the group for being such crappy friends. And finally, to the guy who laughed and whom no one shut down, please accept my two-finger salute over the internet. Now that I've established that I'm firmly on your side, I ask you, what do you want to happen now? I think long and hard about what it is that you want. Yes, this whole fantasy football thing is crappy, but what sort of friends are these guys outside of this situation? Would you call them if you needed help moving? Would they come if you suffered a real tragedy? Would any of them be another shoulder to cry on? If you have kids or were to have kids in the future, would you invite these people to be a part of your child's life? If these people are merely college fantasy football bros, then maybe you need to consider letting them all go. You've devoted considerable time, effort, and maybe money into making these events fun for them, but when the time came for them to return the favor, they didn't care enough to get the job done. I don't blame them for not being more sincere in their apologies on the day this all went down. By your account, they were all caught flat-footed. It's hard for most of us to admit our mistakes and apologize properly when we're still processing what in a hole we've been. Have any of them reached out since? Only you can decide how much these people mean to you and whether you want them in your life going forward. If I were you, I would write a huge screed about everything I've done for the group over the past years, trying to make this event a yearly spectacular. I wouldn't cuss or throw around insults, but I would make it very clear to everyone that this event is so much fun every year because of my hard work. Then I'd end with how disappointed I was that none of them saw fit to return the favor when I was the winner. I would absolutely point out that the previous winner laughed and was a complete jerk, and that it was crappy of them not to shut that noise down. But I'm petty like that. Maybe you're not that petty. I'd fire this off into the group chat or whatever you guys use to communicate and see what happens. Maybe you'll get a ton of heartfelt apologies, and they'll plan an extravaganza in your honor, and all will be well. Or maybe you'll get back a bunch of hate and see their true colors. Either way, you'll have your answer as to what sort of friends they really are. Once you've sorted the friend situation, you'll need to address things with your wife. I have a lot of questions for her, and I imagine you do too. Why didn't she organize something to celebrate your win, for starters? The wife might be something that requires marriage counseling, but only the two of you can determine that. Opie replies, I don't know. I don't want anything as of this morning. I just want to avoid this tension with my wife, but I'm kind of stuck feeling let down. She's supposed to be the person who doesn't do this. Is your wife always as crappy as she seems here? Opie says no, she's great and a wonderful partner, But one major part of her personality is that she hates any feeling of having done something wrong. It's like she becomes a different person. Bad sex and a weak apology is how she makes up for it. And then she gets upset at Op for feeling hurt and makes it about herself. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be getting any better, does it? Let's hope that the wife and friends sort something out for Op. Let's go to an update. The first thing I'd say is that Reddit is a pretty amazing place. My inbox was flooded with people offering congratulations and apologies for what happened, and feeling support when you're in a place like that is an awesome thing. To everyone who wrote, thank you. Here's what happened. My relationship had a rough 2 weeks. It took time for her to see that this was more than just a scratch. Emotionally, I was disconnected from her everyday life, and it's hard to explain to someone, my wife, who is so sensitive to partial blame and accountability, that you need them to make a sudden change and handle your issue. That sounds weird to write out, but in my case, in marriage, it's true. It's like asking someone to perform disaster relief who hates getting their hands the slightest bit dirty. About a month after that day, I had a trip planned with a bunch of them who had been at the tailgate. I could have brought it up then, could have told them how let down I was and how Reddit was on my side. In the moment, I just decided not to ruin the trip. If you tell them how destroyed you felt, they're going to feel bad, and you're on a trip together. If you're reading this and judging me, please know I completely understand. I could have yelled and screamed or explained how it made me feel, but I thought about how I've known all of them for over 20 years. This one thing was just a bad mark against a lot of good memories. It's sad, but I didn't want to ruin the trip we were on. Fast forward to next year, I didn't continue the league. I got a few texts about it asking, are we doing the Pick'em League? I didn't respond. My wife asked why it was gone. I was happy with not doing it and not needing a weekly reminder. We had the 2023 tailgate almost a year to the date. Someone had won the 2022 season. And of course, I had planned nothing. Yes, it was the same guy who had won for 6 years in a row. About 3 hours into the tailgate, someone made an announcement. They needed everyone to watch the TV because there was a surprise. My friends had arranged a cameo. They got one of my favorite players of all time to congratulate me on winning the league. It was a year late, but it was still great. I watched it, teared up a tiny bit, and my friend leaned over, smiling sarcastically, and said, "Can we please start the league up again?" I thought of Reddit, the emotions, my wife, etc. I had a few congratulatory hugs, and then it was over. My dad passed away about 6 months after the initial Reddit post. When he was in the hospital and I was visiting every day for a few weeks, I started to think about things that matter. The bull crap at my work faded away. My wife, who isn't perfect but is definitely my person, came into much sharper focus. My relationships with my friends did too. This isn't meant to be life advice, but I feel like emotional landmines are going to happen. I hit one. It hurt. And I was fortunate enough to be with people who felt compelled to fix whatever happened to me. We never hashed it out, and that's okay. I'm all right. I love a bunch of people who have been in my life for a long time, and I'm lucky enough to have moved on from it. Thank you again to everyone who reached out, sent vibes, and was supportive when I was down. Okay, guys, and that's the end of that story. Yeah, I got to be honest. I love that last sentiment from OP. Sometimes it's good to put things into perspective. Life can present these challenges and people can make mistakes, but it's worth giving them the opportunity to redeem themselves, so to speak. Even though they've apologized and all of that, I think the jury is still out on whether or not they're willing to step up and help with a little more organizing, like what OP is doing. Also, it's almost like the wife has evolved into a separate communication issue that probably needs some hashing out. Anyway, what do you guys think? Let me know down below. Let's move on to another story. Okie dokie, same subreddit. This one was written by user K2018 and is titled, "I was once again left out of my daughter's birthday pictures, and I'm done talking to my husband about it." Pretty much as the title says, my daughter turned 5 in the middle of last week, but yesterday we had her birthday party at the local trampoline park, since that's her favorite place right now. LOL. Because of my husband's work schedule, I did the majority of the planning. He did contribute financially, but I planned the theme, made the party reservation, ordered the cake, made the party favors, etc. My daughter is a huge daddy's girl, and thus he is the favorite parent. She's only 5, so I don't hold it against her, but it still definitely hurts. For health reasons, I can't jump with my daughter, but my husband could. They both had a great time, and so did the other kids that were there. But just like previous years, I'm the one behind the camera. I take all the pictures every year, and I'm not in any of them. I've spoken to my husband about my feelings before, but all I get are empty promises of how he'll do better. Last year, we rented a room at the local conference center for her party, and I asked my grandmother to take pictures of me and my husband holding our child while we sang happy birthday and cut the cake. Instead of pictures, she took a video. Once again, no pictures of me. Call me old-fashioned, but I like printing pictures for photo albums, and I can't exactly print off a video. So another year has gone by with no pictures. After yesterday's party, we decided to take her gifts home rather than open them at the party. The kids had very limited time at the park, so rather than spend 20 minutes opening presents, we figured it would be better to take them home and open them there, giving the kids more time to play. Even while opening presents, I was behind the camera. My husband didn't think once that I should be in any of the pictures. By the end of the day, I was very upset. I'll give my husband credit for knowing where I am, but then again, I wasn't really hiding it. I went to say goodnight to my daughter because I had to be up early the next day. He followed me to talk to me and said, "What's wrong? What did I do?" I just looked at him and said, "It's what you didn't do." For the third year in a row, I went to the bedroom and he didn't follow me. I'm just done. I'm so sick of his empty promises of doing better. Besides little things like this, he's a good husband and an amazing father, but it genuinely feels like there are times when he doesn't think about me at all. If anyone thinks, well, why don't you just ask him to take pictures? I shouldn't have to. I'd like to think that my husband would want pictures of me and our child together. The last picture I remember him taking of me and our daughter was in a restaurant on my 29th birthday, and I had to ask him to take it. I'm so tired of this. At any time, I could get sick or be in an accident and die, and the only pictures my daughter will have me will be selfies I've taken none of me on her birthdays or even holidays because of our crazy schedules. I won't see my husband again until next Sunday unless he stays up all night to see me in the morning, which he sometimes does. Part of me wants to text him and lay it all out again, but the majority of my thoughts is to just give up on it. I told my husband for the third year in a row, though it's probably been more than that I don't recall seeing any pictures of me and her on her birthday, or even being in the background. I'm just so hurt and tired of it. Thanks for reading. Let's go straight to some comments. I'm really sorry you're going through this. What you're feeling is totally valid. It's not just about pictures, it's about feeling seen and valued in your family. Maybe suggest hiring a photographer for important occasions. It might take the pressure off you and ensure you're included in those cherished moments. OP replies, "Thank you. It feels good to be validated. Unfortunately, we aren't in a situation where we can afford a professional photographer. I may talk to my mother-in-law and see if she can help me take pictures during the next family event SL holiday, spell birthday. I definitely don't trust my husband to do it, even if I talk to him." Does your husband take pictures of other things? OP says not really. He's taken selfies of both of them together and pictures of just her, but for all major events, it's pretty much just me. Some people are just bad at taking pictures or don't think of it. For you, he should think of it, but that's your expectation. Do you think that if you didn't take pictures of him and her, he would be as upset as you? Some people worry more about being in the moment than taking pictures. Either way is fine, but if you want more pictures with your child, then ask, even if you have to ask him 20 times a day. Ask. It's what you want, and if he wants it, he'll take pictures. If not, that's okay. Just because he doesn't take pictures of you doesn't mean he doesn't think of you, doesn't mean he doesn't love you, and it doesn't mean he's not a good father or husband. You're valid in your feelings, but leaving it up to him to make the right decision for you is not how to go about it. It's an argument in tension waiting to happen. OP, your reply. Thank you for this insight. A lot of this was written before I had the chance to really calm myself and think about things. The biggest reason I'm hurt by this is because of the many times I've talked to him about it, and nothing has changed. But I also realize, as you've said, that sometimes he's just in the moment and genuinely doesn't think about taking pictures at the time. I'm going to have another sit down with him when I see him next to explain my feelings again, but also ask him to take pictures when the time comes. Thank you for a new perspective on this. I'll work with him to improve on picture taking going forward. Another comment says your feelings are valid, but you kind of cut off your nose to spite your face here. You should have insisted on some photos. Sure, you shouldn't have to ask, but the end result is no photos, and you can't take that back. I'm going to be honest and a bit harsh here. For now, 3 years, you are aware your husband doesn't think to take pictures. But for 3 years, you didn't think to speak up in the moment and ask for pictures. This is on you too. Sit down with the presents, hand your husband the phone, and tell him to take pictures. Set the phone on a tripod and set a timer to take a pic every 30 seconds. Take a selfie, literally do anything, because you're doing the thing and then getting mad that nothing is being done. Clearly, your husband doesn't care or remember or think about taking pics. You're doing the same thing year after year, but getting mad that nothing is changing. Change it yourself. Yeah, some interesting insights there. Onto an update. Thank you to everyone who read and commented on my post. There were a lot of supportive comments and some harsh ones, but I appreciate them all, as there were many who made some great points. Before I dive into the update, there are some comments that were made that I want to address. Many pointed out that my husband is probably just someone who wants to live in the moment, and I 100% agree. The biggest reason I was hurt was because of how many times I've spoken to him about my feelings and his constant promises to do better. However, like many said, he probably just doesn't think about it at the time. I don't think he does it on purpose or out of spite. He's probably having too much fun with our daughter and forgets. I shouldn't have let it get to me this much. I still think I shouldn't have to ask, but we clearly have different views when it comes to special occasions. He wants to live in the moment, and I want to preserve the moments. With that said, please know that I don't constantly have a camera in my hand. I just use my phone to snap pictures every so often, and then put the phone down so I can enjoy my daughter's parties and family gatherings too. I just wanted him to do the same for me on occasion. Many have said to just take selfies of me and her, and I take a lot of them. I would just like pictures that others have taken as well, or even just pictures of me there when I'm not necessarily posing, just pictures of me playing with her or hanging out at the party with family and friends. Many suggested hiring a photographer, but that's not something we can really afford. Hopefully with our talk, we won't even need to consider it. On to the update. My husband and I spoke last night. When I don't have work the next day, I stay up late so I can spend some time with him, and I wanted us to finally talk. When he came home, we sat down. He says he still didn't fully understand what he did wrong, and I told him again how I wasn't in any pictures and how I've talked to him about this many times. I did say that I understand he is someone who lives more in the moment, but I just wanted to have proof that I was there too, that I was present at her parties, and for her to have memories of me there. Our daughter is only 5 and she won't remember her parties or holidays from when she was younger. As she gets older, I know she'll know I was there, but I also want her to see me in her younger years as she grows up. There were some tears, and we apologized to each other. We promised again to do better, but I'm not going to lie. I'll believe it when I see it, as he said that before. I promise to be more understanding of his values going forward. I'll also ask family and friends to help take pictures so there are more photos to save, and not just mine. And yes, as many suggested, there will be times when I just flat out ask him to take pictures. Thank you again to everyone who commented on my last post. I appreciate the support and also the comments that made some great points about how each of us has different perspectives, and I need to be more understanding of his values, not just mine. Some final comments. One of my biggest regrets is that I don't have any pictures of me holding my daughter when she was an infant. I would love to look back on those now. You don't realize it at the time, but you don't ever get a second chance. I feel you. I saw a good suggestion on your original post. Ask him to take pictures on a more regular basis, not just at big events. This will get him used to the idea that pictures should be taken and will also give him some practice. Yeah, I've got to admit, I'm one of those people who forgets to take pictures in the moment as well. And often I'll think back and go, geez, I wish I had taken more photos. But at the same time, it seems completely out of my nature to whip out a phone and look at what I'm seeing through a screen. But that's just me. One comment says my partner is like this too. He never really takes photos. In the past year or so, I've started just flat out asking him to take photos of me when we're on hikes, and it actually paid off. Earlier this year, we were 5 miles deep on an island hike when he asked me to stay where I was, got out his own phone and took a photo of me. It hasn't really happened since, but baby steps. I was elated and still think about it. The advice of taking more pictures now so he can practice is good. I have very, very few pictures of my childhood and recently lost my mom. I miss her so much. Alrighty guys, we're going to leave that one there. Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you guys take a lot of pictures, Or do you prefer to live in the moment and then, maybe like me, regret it later? Let me know. Anyway, let's move on. Alrighty, we're jumping over to Mem Hall. This one was written by user Complex Ad, and it's titled, Am I the a-hole for serving my guests disgusting food? I was at the butcher looking for some cheap meat to use for my tacos at my housewarming party. My wife got me a kick-ass new smoker, and I wanted to try it out. The butcher mentioned that he had some beef tongue and beef cheeks. I went weak in the knees. I love those cuts of beef. So much flavor, and proper barbacoa is made from that. I picked it up and prepared it the way I was taught by my grandfather. It was awesome. Smoking it makes it so tender. I made tortillas from scratch as well. We had our party, and everyone enjoyed the food until my wife's brother's girlfriend asked for the recipe. I declined because it was my family recipe, and I don't like to give away recipes. I have in the past, and I end up getting crapped on because it doesn't taste as good, and I must have sabotaged them on purpose. No, Madison, I didn't sabotage you. You used cinnamon powder in your chili instead of a couple of cinnamon sticks, like I said. My wife told me to please play nice and share, so I wrote out the recipe for the girl. She immediately started dry heaving like she was going to hurl. My brother-in-law came over to see what was going on. She screamed that I served dog food for supper, so everyone starts asking what she means, and she starts waving the recipe around, saying that beef cheeks and tongues are what she buys for dog snacks. No one else complained. They all said she was being ridiculous and that the meal was great. She left there crying and being comforted by my brother-in-law. Now she is flaming me on Facebook, calling me names and saying that just because I ate peasant food growing up is no reason to feed it to others. I feel kind of guilty because I thought I was doing a nice thing by making authentic food, but I guess I might be in a hole for serving cuts of meat that Americans don't think are fit for human consumption. What the hell? Peasant food. I mean, that's just straight up disrespectful. This girl sounds like she needs to grow up. I bet she would eat a sausage or a hot dog, no questions asked, even though we all know what goes into those, or do we? I guess that's the point. All right, on to some comments. Just because I ate peasant food growing up is no reason to feed it to others. This is such a weird thing to say. Where is she from? What's the socioeconomic makeup of this group of people? OP replies, I'm from Guatemala. I guess she's from Oregon. I never asked. All of us are professionals of some sort or another. My wife's family is from Portland. OP comments on everyone else who has eaten the tacos. I've eaten barbacoa tacos with everyone who was there that day. I told them up front that there were barbacoa tacos. Go look up what barbacoa is, not the a-hole. Repeat this until it takes hold. I am not responsible for others' lack of Epicurean taste. Beef cheeks are literally a delicacy. Tongue, while not specifically a delicacy, has good flavor and a unique but not gross texture. It isn't like you fed them tripe. Thankfully, most of them acknowledged that it tasted amazing. You don't need the one idiot in your life. Peasant food makes me laugh. I love oxtail, but I can't afford it anymore because the foodies have discovered it. Yeah, isn't that funny? What used to be quite humble peasant food is now ending up in Michelin star restaurants these days. Okay, on to an update 18 months later. I posted a while ago about serving dog food to the woman my brother-in-law eventually married. Wendy hasn't changed much since then. She did stop complaining after she went to a few different taco places, and they all told her what proper barbacoa is. So anyway, now whenever we have people over, I always prepare a meal specifically for her, usually just plain unseasoned meat other than salt and pepper. I'm not a monster. Plain green salad with ranch on the side and a plain starch like a baked potato or white rice. I do not limit her to this food. I just always have it available in case she finds something offensive about the other food I make. We recently hosted a dinner party that included my wife's brother and his wife. We also had some new friends over. Thea, the wife, asked if my sister-in-law had allergies since she was eating plain roast chicken breast with the aforementioned sides. She was worried about cross-contamination since there was a lot of other food there. I guess Thea is a teacher and is hyper-vigilant about food allergies. This led to Wendy explaining that I use cuts of meat that she did not grow up eating, and that I refuse to tell her what is in the food I make. Here's the deal, I've learned my lesson and now focus on preparing food that my friends and family enjoy. If I use an ingredient that might not fit certain dietary restrictions, I make sure to clearly communicate that. For instance, if pork is on the menu, I let everyone know. I'm also open to answering any questions about allergens. My sister-in-law claims I serve her the blandest food imaginable. I once pointed out the salsa verde on her plate and asked if she thought it needed more seasoning. The whole story came out, and Wendy ended up feeling embarrassed. Personally, I don't think I'm at fault here. I've been making sure that any complaints about my cooking are addressed in a subtle way. My wife suggests I stop making a separate meal just for Wendy. I joked that she should be grateful I don't offer her Dino nuggets and Lunchables. She might actually like the dinosaur nuggets if she didn't ask about their ingredients. Okay, so OP responds to several Reddit users about whether or not to disclose what's in the food. My approach is not to specify the cut of meat, whether it's beef, pork, chicken, or something more exotic, just kidding about the iguana. I've served huitlacoche, which is a type of fungus that Americans call corn smut, to my friends, along with tamales. I let them know it's a fungus. Do you tell your guests every ingredient in your cooking? If you use synthetic vanilla extract in cookies, do you disclose it's made from beaver glands? OP, did you really call your tacos peasant food? Sometimes Reddit posts seem so outlandish they feel fake. OP confirms, yep, my family is from a more rural part of Mexico. I don't limit her to just one type of food. I prepare a meal for everyone that she's welcome to join, and a separate meal just for her if she doesn't like the main dish. That's really thoughtful and considerate of you. If she's uncomfortable with the special meal, she doesn't have to eat it. You're not at fault here. It's puzzling how much drama can revolve around food. If Wendy doesn't like your cooking, she could easily make her own meal instead of turning it into a big issue. I'm not a vegetarian, I eat meat, but I believe that if we're going to kill an animal for food, we should use all of it. I admire those who come up with great recipes for parts like tongue and goat. If you enjoy goat cheese, you should be willing to eat goat meat, because it involves killing male goats, who are half of the offspring. Goat meat is tasty and readily available at Pakistani and some Indian restaurants. There's no moral high ground in only eating certain cuts of meat. Goat shawarma is amazing, though it's harder to find in North America compared to places like Australia, where it's quite popular. Anyway, I'll leave it at that for today. I hope you enjoyed these stories. Thanks for sticking around, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day. Cheers.